Hello NFL fans and welcome back to the Wall of NFL. In this video today, I'm going to be giving you one thing to watch for each upcoming game in NFL's Week 2 action. I think we all know that the Washington football team is absolutely going to destroy the New York Giants on Thursday night, especially defensively, because Daniel Jones is really not that good, and the Washington football team's defense is definitely one of the best in the league. Their front seven, including Montez Sweat and Chase Young, are really going to do a number on the Giants. But I think what's really key to look out for in this game would be Taylor Heineke, the quarterback for the football team. He's not really started many games in his career, and he's pretty much a seasoned backup. But saying that, will he be able to distribute the ball to all of the Washington football team's weapons? They have Antonio Gibson at running back, Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel at wide receiver, and of course they have other players at tight end as well. So I'm just wondering whether he's really going to be able to give that offense the boost that they need and be able to, as I said, distribute it as well as he needs to on Thursday night. The Patriots are heading to New York and going to play against the New York Jets this weekend in one of the Sunday's early kickoffs. I think the Patriots are really going to do a number on Zach Wilson. Bill Belichick is really good and has a fantastic record against rookie quarterbacks, and I don't think it's going to be any different in this game. Even the Panthers defense gave Zach Wilson a really torrid time last weekend, so I think it'll be no different today. In fact, maybe even worse in this upcoming week. I do think, though, the good thing to look out for would be Mac Jones, the quarterback for the Patriots. Of course, he's a rookie as well, and he might find it hard against Robert Saleh's defense because in previous years, Robert Saleh's defenses have actually been pretty good. I do think, though, that Mac Jones will be a success this weekend because the Jets just aren't very good in general, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how well he does, and because this is going to be the week that he's really going to be able to show what he can do and thrive for New England. The Broncos are heading to Florida and Jacksonville this weekend, and I think it's going to be no different to how they fared against the Giants. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to get totally beat up by the Broncos defense. They have a fantastic defense. I think one of the top 5 in the league, and they have a lot of players. And of course, they just drafted Patrick Surtain in this year's draft. Trevor Lawrence, of course, he's going to be good, but maybe not in this, definitely not in this game, I would say. They have to, the Jaguars that is, they have to lean more on the running game if they're going to succeed. Only 3 of 13 quarterbacks, including Trevor Lawrence, passed for more than 37 attempts last week and actually won. Only 3, which means they've got to have a little bit more balance if they even have a chance of beating the Broncos. So good luck to the Jaguars and good luck Trevor Lawrence. Try not to get injured. The Bills have a really tricky start to their 2021 season. Of course, they lost last week to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this week they're heading to Miami to face off against the Dolphins. Josh Allen is really the guy I think we should be watching this week because last week he didn't have a good game, and it's kind of creeping into people's minds that he might actually be a one-season wonder. I really hope not, as a fantasy owner, of course, but I think that this game for the Bills is really key. And despite the Dolphins having such a good defense, I think that it's really important for them to win because only 12% of 0-2 teams end up making the playoffs, which of course the Bills could be if they lose this game. Anyway, keep your eye on Josh Allen. I definitely think the thing to watch out for in the 49ers at the Eagles matchup at 1 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Sunday is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, of course, had a really great game last year, the best in his career so far. It's only been a short career, but that's actually been the only game that I've actually been impressed by him. So I think he's going to be the guy to watch. The Falcons are possibly one of the worst teams in the league. So the fact that he did it against them is like, okay. But now against the 49ers, who are actually a good team, we got to see whether he can do it again. And I think that's going to be really the key to the Eagles season. Whether they can just beat terrible teams or whether they can compete against the top teams like the 49ers. The Colts are one of those teams this year that have a really tough start to their season. Last week playing against the Seahawks and this week playing against the Rams. they're going to find it hard pressed to win a few games early on in the season, but they may be one of the teams that doesn't do so well at the beginning, seeing as they've got a new quarterback in Carson Wentz, but might go on a run later on into the season if Wentz can stay healthy and they're able to play against some easier teams down the stretch. But they do have a really good defence, and what I think we should be looking out for in this game is whether Matthew Stafford can replicate his success in this game against the Colts compared to last week when he demolished the Bears. Because last week, I don't know whether it was McVay scheming all of the wide receivers open, or the wide receivers having a great day, or whether it was just the Bears doing really badly, but I felt like the Rams receivers were a little bit too wide open and made it a bit easy for Matthew Stafford to make so many good throws. This age-old rivalry between the Raiders and the Steelers might be a game to keep an eye on this weekend. Of course, the Raiders might actually take down another NFC North team and play really well like they did last week. I didn't expect them to come out of the season so well, but despite the fact that normally they come out and play really well at the start of each NFL season and kind of peter off towards the end of it. But Lamar Jackson is much better than Ben Roethlisberger, so I think the Raiders might do better this week than they did last week. Although saying that, the Steelers' defence is really good. So what I think you should watch out for in particular in this game is how well the Raiders' offense fares against that big hitting Steelers' defence. I think it's difficult to know really what to look out for in this game between the Bengals and the Bears, because the Bengals, they have of course Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they have Joe Mixon, and of course a good offensive line, or well, a developing offensive line that they've kind of recovered over this last year. But I think the most interesting thing to watch will be how much time Justin Fields gets on the field for the Bears, because last week Andy Dalton was really bad and he didn't get a lot going and the offense was kind of sputtering because of Andy Dalton. But when Justin Fields stepped onto the pitch, he kind of galvanized the Bears offense a little bit and they looked more up for winning the game. So I think if Matt Nagy doesn't see that, he might deserve to be fired in the end. So I would keep your eye on how much game time Justin Fields gets against the Bengals. On to the Texans at the Browns, who are kicking off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time this Sunday. I actually think the Browns are going to absolutely demolish the Texans. That may be because the Texans already ruined my 0-17 prediction I predicted for them, or maybe it's because Jack Easterby is absolutely ruining the Texans, just like Kroenke is ruining my beloved Arsenal. But I just think the Browns are going to score a huge amount of points. I don't know whether it's because that the Browns are going to have a lot of steam to let out after last week's disappointing loss and they want to show the world that they are a big hitting AFC team, or whether it's because they're just that much better than the Texans. But I really think they're going to score a lot of points, so that's what I think you should keep your eye out for in this game. This weekend, the New Orleans Saints are heading to Carolina to face off against the Panthers. And of course, no one expected the Saints to defeat the Packers in such a massive way last weekend. But this week, we're kind of expecting the Saints to really perform well against the Panthers, especially because the Panthers are not as good as the Packers. But in the end, now that we're expecting it, will they perform in quite the same way? I certainly hope so as a Saints fan. But now that we know the defense is going to be so good and Jameis Winston's going to be so good at not throwing interceptions, maybe that they won't perform as well. But I certainly hope they do. So keep an eye on the Saints to see whether they can perform just as well, if not better, than last week against the Packers. I think the Vikings season really depends on this game against the Cardinals. I think for them to have success and win the game, they'll need to rely heavily on Dalvin Cook and not so much on Kirk Cousins throwing the ball, as we all kind of know he's not the best at doing that. I think that if they do rely on Dalvin Cook, they have a good chance of winning this game. But the Cardinals showed that last week they are no pushover. Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt on the defensive line wreaked havoc on the Tennessee Titans. And if they're able to do that this weekend, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings have no chance. So I think that's the matchup to look out for. That Cardinals defensive line against Dalvin Cook, the running back for the Vikings. If the Eagles beat the Falcons by 26 points last week, surely the Buccaneers will be able to beat the Falcons by more, right? Wrong. I actually think the Buccaneers kind of play to their opponents a lot of the time during the early regular season games and actually get in their own way a lot. They lack a bit of concentration, and I think they make a lot of silly mistakes because I don't know whether they think they're much better than the opponents or overlook their opponents to try and focus more on the end of the regular season and the postseason. But I think if they keep playing to their opponents, the Falcons actually have a decent chance of staying within 2 touchdowns. And I know staying within 2 touchdowns sounds like it could still be a really bad loss, but that could be quite a success for a Falcons team playing against the best team in the league, who last week lost by 26 points to a not so good side. So I think the key thing to look out for in this game is whether the Buccaneers can get out of their own way and absolutely destroy the Falcons, or whether the Falcons have a chance or not. Last week's game for the Titans against the Cardinals, I predicted a shootout. And I think I'm actually going to do the same this week for the Titans against the Seahawks. Of course, the Titans have AJ Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry to get that offense going. And the Seahawks, they have Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. And their offense is so explosive with Russell Wilson at the helm. So I think those two teams and offenses combined, they could provide a really, really interesting game and one that we won't want to take our eyes off of. However, I thought that last week. So if the Titans are able to do a little bit better against the Seahawks defense, which by no means are no pushovers, it'll be really tough for them. But if they are able to play well against them, I think it could be a really, really interesting game. And I really hope that there's going to be at least 65 points. So I would keep your eye on this one to see whether the Titans can really compete against the Seahawks offense or not. This week I expect the LA Chargers to score a lot more points against the Cowboys than they did against the Washington football team. I think the Washington football team's defense is so much better than the Cowboys, and I expect Justin Herbert to get 2 or 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys. I think that the Buccaneers defense is much better than the Chargers, in terms of stopping the run. So I expect Ezekiel Elliott this week to get a lot more opportunities to run the ball and get more yards and potentially a touchdown or 2 against the Chargers compared to last week against the Buccaneers, where he had no luck. So keep an eye on Ezekiel Elliott if you can. Normally, Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, is quite often the deciding factor in the Chiefs' games. But I actually think this week, the Chiefs' defense is going to be the deciding factor. Lamar Jackson had a really difficult time last week against the Raiders and didn't find that he was very productive on the run or passing. But this week, they're up against the Chiefs, who I know don't have a very good defense. They have Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu, so they have stars, but overall not that great. So if the Chiefs are able to stop Lamar Jackson, then they'll win the game. But if not, I think the Chiefs actually have a chance of losing a game in September, which they haven't done since Mahomes became their quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't bounce back in this game against the Lions, I don't think they will ever bounce back, and Aaron Rodgers may as well just be benched for Jordan Love. I say this because Aaron Rodgers is at home, and the Packers are at home this weekend, and the Lions are one of the worst 3 teams in the league, I would say. So if they don't win this game, and win this game by at least a touchdown, I think that they may have to start thinking about replacing Aaron Rodgers. Maybe a bit of a Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts situation from last year. So I think that is the key thing to watch. But I think another thing you should potentially look out for on the side is Aaron Rodgers' reception by the home fans in Green Bay. Of course, all of his off-season antics are finally coming to roost at home. And now we can finally see what Packers fans really think about Aaron Rodgers. So thank you guys so much for watching this video on all the things that I think you should look out for in this weekend's NFL action. If you think there's anything that I've missed, please comment down below what you think, and also tell me what games you're going to be watching most this weekend. Please also follow Wall of NFL on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and TikTok, and of course go to wallofnfl.com for any exclusive articles. This week I posted my power rankings of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, and we also have an article up by Wilson Weaver about 1-sentence power rankings, just quick snap grades of all the teams in the NFL. So please head there if you can, and also thank you so much for watching.